So I like that last pick from Reality Rift. Alacrity has to have a pretty good laning start, though, up against that TA.
They certainly do. It's going to be a rough game nonetheless. I mean, these drafts do look pretty interesting. TNC, again, we talked about the lack of disable. The thing is, though, all their heroes are so darn tanky. They love to run forward. They just love to delete heroes straight off the bat. But that OD, going to have a great old time. Not really great int scaling calls or supports on the side of TNC Predator. And we'll see how it all pans out. It's going to be another one of those games, though, at the very least for RR on the Dire, where they are going to have to coordinate very, very well with all these stuns and disables they do have. Whereas TNC, they're more looking to just get the right kind of positioning and just essentially get in there. Like, close the gap, no wasting time, and just essentially tank through all the damage and one-shot people with this CK. Even Armil, perhaps.
Definitely. It's really down to just melting all these heroes. The main priority for them in these fights should be KYXY. They don't want him to get off that boat buff. They don't want him to be able to sustain these team fights longer than TNC wants to hold him. Because once you eat through that initial burst potential, over time you are going to be seeing issues up against Reality Rift. Again, Alacrity is going to be happier the more he can right-click you with his orbs, of course, and that's just going to build up to a massive amount of damage. It's going to eat right through the bristleback no matter what. It's going to be rough if you don't find those key kills in your initiation, and TNC is going to have to rely on that. I'd say, again, KYXY is probably the biggest target. Next to that, you'd probably want Alacrity Sven. The Sven. Not Alacrity's OD, but you want the Sven next, mainly because he's going to be clearing through those illusions if you're not going to be careful, and again, the Warcry buffs up everyone quite well, so you want to take out the loop as fast as possible. These are the two heroes that you should watch TNC trying to jump. Either way, it does look to be an interesting draft. Again, TNC, they don't really have the best laning control, but they have some decent damage output early on.
John, position 1 Bristleback, offlaner Baron. The CK is being played by Tims.
Okay.
So bit of a debate for everyone involved, I believe.
I actually don't mind this. I don't mind this. No, like, support CK is something you cannot underestimate. Chaos Vault is really strong, and Reality Rift, not the team, the spell, is a really strong repositioning tool that you can abuse by spell canceling. If you manage to get it to your side favorably, that's just repositioning someone for free, and you can keep recasting that spell until it favors you. And you can definitely abuse that. You have some pretty decent sustain with Chaos Strike as well in terms of trading, and he's a pretty tanky hero early on, so you can't just kind of run up, right-click people like an Ogre Magi would.
Well, a lot of tips coming out. Of course, they are going to go for a bit of a scuttle over the Batterings down at bot lane. TNC, KYXY, going to get pressured. There's the blinding light coming out. That's just going to ensure they can take this. And, well, now they'll find out it is Tims on the CK, and he's just going to chase down KYXY. The Hustler will ensure that his Kunkka is safe.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. It's been a while since we've seen the support CK, and I do like watching it. Now, again, it has a lot of potential. It's if you play it support, it's really about being aggressive. I mean, the hero overall is about being aggressive, but the laning phase is definitely going to be focusing on trying to find those right-click trades, trying to abuse Reality Rift as best as possible, and just zoning out the support and the core.
Well, that is the beauty of this lane. Gabby actually went for level 1 Nasal Goo as well. So he just throws one on Hustler, and essentially he just gets chased down by the CK, who has a very, very high movement speed even without boots. Although Hustler is doing very well at controlling Tims for now. In fact, Tims has to be a bit careful about how far forward he goes, but that appears to be the play. Just Nasal Goo, allow Tims to run up to these heroes and just right-click them as much as he can.
I think that's something a lot of people underestimate. Level 1 Nasal Goo is devastating in certain lane combinations. Just because you get so much value, it's just 12 mana per cast. It reduces your armor by so much, and you can't really afford to trade too well with heroes like that. Granted, Tims is now eaten through a lot of his regen, but you are having a really good time with Gabby right now.
Yeah, Gabby,
Jesus.
One more Quill Spray will do it, and Actually walks off. He doesn't want to dive the T1. Fair enough. He doesn't have his bristleback quite yet. So he does force out the salve usage from KYXY, and that might even be better than just getting the first blood anyway. And he'll just return back to the lane where he can essentially just free farm. And KYXY now understands he has to be very careful. Though speaking of careful, Alacrity dropping very low in the mid lane on the OD. Armel really abusing those side blades, although here comes the Astral. Though I don't think this leads to anything as the refraction comes out. But Alacrity and Armel going head to head, really pulling no punches against each other.
Yeah, it's down to that spell usage, and once the refraction's gone, the TA is not going to have a good time. You can see it as well in terms of last hits. Alacrity is edging out just a bit more here, although as the levels scale up, the TA should have an easier time. It's still not going to be the best lane for this hero.
Nuts, blinding light at the back. KP gonna chase. Ingswell will connect though, but Nuts, one more would do it from KP. The war cry, it does not keep him alive through the miscoil. KP will be the one to pick up the first blood now on that core of Baton. And I suppose that's one thing we haven't talked about too much since we got into this game. Those core Batons, if they get some decent farming levels early on, they are just devastating to play against because they just essentially become unkillable.
Definitely so. It's not something you see too often nowadays, but when the timing's there, when the farm is there, these guys are just a nuisance.
Gabby finds KYXY, meanwhile Armel falling very low again down that mid lane. Of course, Gabby, Nasal Goo, Quill Spray at level 2 already. He could just keep rushing forward. And this is another beautiful thing about what TNC's doing. You look at Tim's, he's hardly been in the lane, John, so they haven't really abused that Nasal Goo and the crit from the Chaos Knight, but rather just give as much XP to Gabby as you can, so he can just out-level them during the lane and harass the hell out of them with Quill Spray.
Yeah, this is working out really well for TNC. This opening is pretty darn good. The one issue is that Tim's really isn't getting too much from the lane. Chaos Knight tends to be a bit of a selfish support in that he needs EXP. He's not going to be getting as much EXP as he'd want, but the Bristleback is definitely enabled. He's going to be hitting 5 in a bit, and then it's a quick march to 6, and he's suddenly very hard to deal with in lane.
Okay, KYXY could be dead again as Gabby rushing forward. 3 Nasal Goo stacks though. Tim's in trouble now. Looks like he'll be alright though as Gabby still going after KYXY, and there's just nothing he can really do. He'll stick charge up, it won't matter. Gabby's gonna keep going and he'll find the kill. It's just that easy.
Oh yeah, you cannot underestimate the Bristleback, and he hasn't even had to go back and reset because he has that bottle up now. When the bounty runes are up, it's going to be a massive priority for TNC on the bot lane to secure it, but it should be fairly straightforward when you have a Bristleback who's just very scary to deal with at level 5 now, at 4.5 minutes in, Mike.
Well, I mean, he's 2 levels ahead of KYXY and the laner being played by Hustler. Like, how do you contest this now? Like, 2 levels ahead, Cool Spray at level 3. I mean, it's just, unless Gabby's out of mana, there's just nothing you can do with this lane. And Hustler backs off, doesn't really realize Gabby has no mana, so there's not really a threat of dying. He will try with the LSA, but that's going to be 4 banner runes as well at that 5-minute mark going to TNC. That's a lot of gold.
It definitely is. And again, they managed to find the bounties for Gabby, which is a big thing. So he gets some bot refills. He's going to have mana back up. They can keep applying this pressure.
Hustler, there's just nothing he can do. He throws out the stun the best he can. Gabby, nice torrent coming up from KYXY. Will save the day at the very least. And that will make sure that Gabby does not find his 3rd kill of the game. But Gabby will just get straight back to farming, and again, the Kunkka just can't do anything. He's just getting denied against constantly. He has no support now to protect, and he makes one wrong step forward, he's just dead.
Yeah, definitely. So the issue here for RR is that KYXY does not have that good start he did in game number 1. So he's not going to have his items up early, he's not going to have his levels up early. His impact is going to be very different compared to that first game, and that could make all the difference here for TNC.
Meanwhile, you look over to the across the map march. He's been stacking some Ancients quite well, getting prepared for Armel. I mean, while the farm is still going decently for the side of RR in that mid and top lane, I don't know if they're going to have enough momentum in about 10 minutes up against this Bristleback and even this Korra Baton, or even Armel and the TA, just all of them just wanting to run forward. And look at Armel. He's got all these stacks to take. takes him very, very early on, and I'm not sure what he's bought, but something's on the courier, and it's just going to be brown boots for now, but you could bet your ass that there's going to be a very, very fast Desolator or Blink coming out on this TA.
Yeah, that's going to be really terrifying to deal with. Again, the minus armor stacking on this team is massive. The Bristlebacks there, the Chaos Knights there. People are going to melt if they manage to get these fights started in their own terms. And for all the durability you have on Reality Rift's side, if they are split up and early on you're not going to be forcing these team fights, it's going to be very easy to gank up these heroes.
Yeah, meanwhile, KP is not leaving Luck alone. He's being chased down, he's been slowed up as well, and KP is going to apply even more pressure now. I mean, help can come in, but he has borrowed time available, so now he's going to try and force the Shrine usage, and he does exactly that. And he'll just return back into the lane. Meanwhile, Nuts is going after March, but probably is going to die for his trouble. And to make matters worse, Armel will be the one to pick that up on the TA. And that is the last hero you want to give kills to right now.
Definitely is, and again, it's going much cleaner for TNC in this laning phase so far. 4-0, a 3k network lead at around 8 minutes in. This is a very different start from what Reality Rift had in Game 1, and it's a bit of a worrying sign. Granted, they have a lot of ways to play catch-up. The Sven in particular can just stick to the jungle and start farming up. I don't know if you want to play a farming game against a TA though. Like, the Sven definitely can clear out just as fast. The issue is TA's power spike comes much earlier.
Certainly does, and I mean, you look over Nuts, he's been stacking as best he can for Luck. So Luck will go and clear up these double stacks now that he has in the jungle. So that is going to help him escalate just a bit. But you already mentioned that the Sven takes so much more to be as active as a TA can be early on. And we'll see how fast Luck can keep up. Because I mean, he is now 500 gold behind the TA. To make matters worse, there are 3 cores on the side of TNC at the top of the net worth board, which does indicate, as we already know, that they've pretty much won every single lane. And so Luck, he is going to be on some heavy farm duty for a while.
Definitely is, and while all of that's happening, Nuts up top gets jumped, but Alacrity decides to come in.
KP has borrowed time. I just don't think he dies here. They're going to try, and he's going for the TP. Alacrity, can he get the Astral? No, he cannot. It looks like the tree was just blocking the vision for a second, and I mean, it is nighttime after all, it makes it even harder. So 3 heroes rotate atop for that. They'll go straight into mid. Alacrity is back there at the very least, but it looks like they are just planning to pressure this mid tier 1 tower very early on, and I just don't see a defense attempt coming out for RR.
No, it's way too tough. Again, Armel is 2 levels above Alacrity now. This tier 1's just going to fall. You're not ready for the defense just yet. You expended some TPs up top. You're going to have to surrender this tower.
Well, they're coming to fight. Not sure about this one. KYXY, he's there. He doesn't even have boat yet. He's still level 5. And so he TP's mid, couldn't do anything about what was happening. And with that mid tier 1 going down, I mean, it's arguably the most valuable tower in the game early on in the game, and it's going to open up the map a hell of a lot for this aggressive lineup, which is TNC.
It definitely is, and again, you're bleeding out in terms of bounty runes as well. This is 3 runes going the side of TNC once more. That escalates their gold lead to 6k now at 10 minutes in. That's a massive amount of gold. I don't think we've seen that kind of lead in a very long time at this point in the game.
The Dota Plus win probability kind of agrees with you, John. I mean, 91%.
Oh wow. At 10 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, there's a blink dagger on Armel now. You know what happens when Armel gets a blink on TA this early. It's not a pretty sight if you are a Reality Rift fan.
I mean, you still have you have Reality Rift on the Chaos Knight at some point. It's going to be out. And then it's going to be very confusing for us to cast one kick.
I suppose the fans will be happy either way. Some Reality Rift's winning. You know, top lane. You can see the, I mean, the caution here from RR. Like, top lane, they've got to group up as 3, and they've just got to stay there and give KYXY all this space that he needs. This is not the same start as he had last game, so the influence is arguably going to be a lot less. Not to mention, having 2 supports with him there is also going to leech a lot of that XP away from him that he desperately needs.
Oh, Alacrity? Oh.
Gets away just barely. And I guess that's what happens when you don't really have a stun. The only thing is, though, they're going to take a bot T1 tower. The top T1 tower's gone as well. So they found all three T1 towers by the 11-minute mark.
Oh, nice dodge.
KP now. He's going to run in. He will back off. Sorry, John, you were saying about Tim's.
He just dodged that X boat just quite well. You can't afford to throw it out on the CK. Granted, you force out the Phantasm there, but it's a support CK. He doesn't care about the Phantasm much. He's just going to use it to escape if he needs to, and he's not going to be too scared. At the very least, Reality Rift at this point is using this time quite well. They are getting a lot of space on Luck. His Sven is just free farming that jungle, and with that tier 1 gone, I don't think you'll see TNC hanging around up top too much, so that does free a bit of the lane for him to farm up as well. Although he gets pinged out.
There's just seemingly nowhere to farm right now for Reality Rift. Like, they're taking what they can get, but they've got to stick by those tier 2 towers now, so every time they push out a wave, suddenly they're just sitting there for 30 seconds with nothing to do. Mid lane, KYXY gonna pop up, but Gabby's there. That is not safe to be around that Bristleback right now, as he's extremely tanky. And Armel, meanwhile, just hunting the Dire side jungle. He doesn't want to risk taking a team fight around the Dire Shrine, so he will back off to safety. But nevertheless, they are taking camps away from Reality Rift, and that's just going to essentially choke them out of this map even more.
Definitely so. It's just really hard right now for Reality Rift. They've been relegated to their jungle. They have to share a farm with Alacrity, KYXY, and Luck. So those are 3 cores just farming in a very limited space, and yeah, it's just not going to work out too well. KYXY, he gets some pressure on him. He does have the X, but man, his HP melts.
You think that was melting, John? Top lane nuts. He just got jumped by Armel and lost 3/4 of his HP in a split second. Luckily for him, he did have Ink Swell, so he got away with his life intact. But with that, forcing them back, TNC, they'll just keep moving towards those tier 2s now. And you look at Alacrity, I mean, he's got drums up, but that's all he's got up. It's really not going to help the cause. KP and Armel will get started. Alacrity going to move forward, but doesn't get the Astral off in time. Very quick reactions coming up from Armel, and he will voice chat as well, just to ensure they know. And with that 4-0 9k net worth lead, they force out the rotations, though RR do smoke up. TNC, do they get punished here? You've still got KP with borrowed time available up at the top lane anyway, so I'm not sure if they do. Mel breaks the smoke, spots him with the trap as well. And he's thinking about going back in. He will blink out in the end, but for a split second, you knew he was thinking about it.
I mean, all this time being wasted by RR is a mixed bag. On the one hand, again, you're buying space for your Sven. On the other, this is just, no one else is finding anything.
Look at Tim's, he's baiting out with the illusion. The Alacrity won't fall for it, but here comes the real one. Starts off with the stun, nice astral dodge, but Armel is there with the rest of the side. This OD Alacrity pops the drums, tries to run away, but that will be no good as he does just melt and does absolutely no damage. Now they go for more as they found Luck in the mid lane. Again, they don't have a way to cancel the TPs though. So you could just TP out, and that's exactly what Luck does.
Nuts.
Looks like he was trying to check if there was a banner available.
Unfortunately, I mean, there were no stuns there, but, you know, these guys can eat through your HP if you're not careful.
Who needs stuns anyway?
Not these guys, Mike.
Nah.
To be fair, though, this is going to be a bit of an issue if TNC lets this game run a bit too long. These guys get tankier, and they don't have any way of stopping the TPs besides Will-O-Wisp, which is a 2-minute cooldown. So once that spell's gone, you're kind of open for 2 minutes, unless you have Tim's around, but he's been using his Chaos Ball preemptively for the most part.
Well, John, I mean, we're 16 minutes in, and I'm not sure if you're quite aware yet, but TNC apparently just don't need the stuns. Like, they just don't care. Just Desolator up on Armel, Roshan's melting. RR, even if they know this is happening, what the hell can they do? The answer is absolutely nothing, as the Aegis now will be on Armel. And they ping out that top tier 2 tower. I guess it's time to go get some tier 2s.
It's going to be a relatively fast push for TNC. 16 minutes in, as you mentioned, TNC, they don't need stuns. They're 6-0. They've got a 12k net worth lead. You take a look at the plus, Mike. I have never seen this graph this way early on.
I'm looking, John.
I've never seen that. I've never. Right past the 10-minute mark, and Dota Plus thinks it's over.
I mean, it's going to go up in a second as well. 2 tier 2s go down, and they're going to pressure tier 3s now. Oh my. Mel not going to back off, has the Deso, has the Aegis, no reason to, and Gabby has a double damage rune. Well, this seems like a fair fight to take. They threw out the turret, get through the refraction charges. X will be there. Mel doesn't move anyway. And with that, now the Rax is under siege. It's just, who do you even aim for in this lineup? KP, he's probably the worst target to aim for. He still has borrowed time. Now Armel, he'll jump forward on Alacrity. He's forced to back off. And there's one Rax gone. X is on Armel. He doesn't have BKB, but look at that Will-O-Wisp from March. It's just perfect. Now the Sanities, though, it will drop at least the Coddle. Alacrity trying to go after that TA. Armel, though, still has the Aegis. They will go after Hustler. They'll find him as well. Armel somehow still alive. Meanwhile, Gabby, he finds a double. They're just going to clear him out. I mean, the buybacks are coming out, but they're not backing off. They've still got 4 HP, and Armel still holds the Aegis. There's just no reason to leave.
Oh, that's just ridiculous. That's just not fair, Mike.
I mean, they bought
it's
back
99% now.
Oh my. TNC, they are looking very, very powerful going into this qualifier. I mean, we questioned them a little bit after game 1, but game 2, they are proving a point. 2 Raxes by 18 minutes, and the only reason they probably didn't go for Megas is there is still a tier 2 bot tower, but they'll just go for Shrines instead. And at this rate, I mean, it looks like they're probably going to finish this game in 25 minutes if RR don't have some sort of plan.
I reckon less, Mike. I reckon less. They want to maximize this Aegis. They're probably going to do it within, dare I say, the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we're going to probably see it fairly soon. They clear out that shrine, they're already making... Oh my god, no.
Nuts, no. Right now, you can't walk up any high grounds if you are the side of Reality Rift. You've just got to stay on your own, as Hustler going to get chased down by a hasted KP. Borrowed time popped. Again, TP. I suppose it's going to work for Alacrity at the very least, but it does not work out for Hustler. Both those supports have no buyback available, and even if they did, Armel now has a BKB up.
I don't know what to say. That basically takes away the damage you have from the Kunkka and the OD at this point. Like there's just nothing they can do against a TA, and they're the ones you want to deal with as TA at this point. The Sven is not nearly big enough. You're going on your last tier 3s. You've got to put up a fight here.
Well, look at Gabby. Runs forward, gets a bit of damage taken to him. Boat will fly out with the X. He'll just turn his back and cops no damage thanks to the Aphotic Shield as well. And now they dive in Luck. He'll pop the God Strength, but he's not doing anything with it. Soulbind will be there, but the Will-O-Wisp again from March, holding Luck in. He's going down. A lot of damage from that one hit he got off, but that's all he got off as the Astral will save Alacrity for now, but he's more than likely dead. KYXY has nowhere to go either. Looks like he's gone as well. Armel has started with the all chat, and there's the GG call. They will not wait this time around, and just after the 20-minute mark, I mean, they're fountain diving, John. It's... What a game 2.
Oh, man. The 16-1, 20 minutes in, 23k network lead for TNC. We were questioning them in game 1. This is the TNC we're used to seeing, Mike. God, that was just a slaughter. I don't know what to say. It felt like